Siobhan, selection-wise, what do you think the manager might do? We know the goalkeeper's still going to play. You mentioned Alisson's not back for a while, I mean, God knows what that looks like. It's probably going to be the next international break. You'd imagine the two centre-halves will play. I think the left-back situation's obviously getting a fair bit of traction. What do you think he'll do there?
I mean, the nostalgic person in me and the person who just wants comfort and reassurance wants Andy Robertson to play. I thought that there was moments where you realised that Andy Robertson isn't the future, of course, on Wednesday, but I think all in all he was really stable, really quick in his decision making. We were speaking a lot about decision making before, and it was kind of like that muscle memory of not having to think about what the next thing to do was existed with him, whereas I think that we've seen a lot of like tap it round the back while we figure out what we're going to do over the last few games, which I really don't want to see again on Saturday. So I want him to play Robertson just because I think that he's got to get his minutes from somewhere as well, and off the back of a good game, why wouldn't you? But I accept that Kerkez is the future, or at least not Robertson. You know, Kerkez in that place is the future. So I would prefer Robertson, but I've said that a few times now, and Kerkez has started. So
I think it is an interesting one, Keith. I think right back, it almost certainly will be Conor Bradley.
I'd go Gomez. I would go Gomez, and just I think for we talk about like the first 30 minutes being so important, and I just think there's two reasons I wouldn't do Bradley. I think the high element from set pieces, but I also think he's been on a bit of a streak this season where he is getting booked, he's giving away silly fouls, and if you talk about that first 30 minutes, what's one thing you don't want to do is give him throw-ins, free kicks and stuff. So I think I think to go to left back, I would do Kerkez just because you'd have Gomez on there, and I think I do feel a bit sorry for Kerkez this year because when we have seen him, I just don't think we've seen him like utilised to the best of his abilities. You know, I know it's a completely different ball game playing for Bournemouth than it is for Liverpool, but when I think of Kerkez at Bournemouth, I think of like flying down the wing out the trap.
And that's not what's
No,
happening,
exactly. I think of the game against Man City last year. I think he gets 2 assists. I think the assist he got against Tottenham, you know, he knocks the ball out of his feet, whips it in, Bournemouth scored. That's kind of what you want to see. But he's been like 20, 30 yards deeper this year, and that just hasn't helped him. So I would do Gomez based off it, kind of give Kerkez that freedom. And I think when Chelsea played them the other week, their goals kind of came from crosses into the box, and like I think Caicedo gets the second one. It's like a third man run. I think Palmer gets the first one, which is again kind of a bit of a Lampard-esque run into the box. So it is going to be, you are going to have to ask a lot of questions to break them down. I just think if you can have someone who can get up and down and be a bit relentless, and maybe this is a game where you say to Kerkez, like, not forget about defending, because that first 30 minutes is going to be like vital for that, but for the next 60 minutes that follow that, and certainly in the second half, you need to break them down. Going to be get up, can you get in their faces, can you put a cross in, can you win corners, win set pieces, that kind of thing. And I just think he's more suited, that's more his game. And I think, as I say, he hasn't been used how you'd expect him to be used so far, so this feels like the perfect opportunity. But to counter that, I would then go Gomez.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think certainly the previous Liverpool manager would have looked towards doing something like that. My only thing with the Gomez shout, I don't think it's a bad one at all, is that they're so light on centre halves. To have all three of them playing them in one game, and there's Crystal Palace to come next week, where Gomez will definitely play in that game. I just don't know whether he'd be willing to walk that tightrope of all of a sudden having all three centre halves.
Feels like he has been reluctant to use Gomez for that.
It's almost
reason.
like he's protecting him because he doesn't want to use him just in case he gets injured.
Especially because another centre half down.
Because then all of a sudden you're left with obviously having two, and that's obviously a massive issue. On the Kerkez thing, I probably would continue with Kerkez. I think there's almost this thing where if you could combine the two at the minute, then you probably got something not far off what you're looking for. But I don't think we're almost in this place now where whichever left back he goes with, I don't think you're getting a perfect solution, because Robbo's not the player he once was. No. You see some really good stuff on Wednesday night from him, but for the first goal he probably could do a little bit better. There's others who could do better in that goal as well, don't get me wrong. I don't think Kerkez has been at the scene of that many crimes. There's been a couple, but not at the scene of loads and loads of crimes. But obviously there's certain parts of his game where doesn't look quite right in the build-up, he's not as comfortable as Robbo in possession, that kind of stuff. The manager talked a little bit about, and we heard it before, but you know, Gakpo could maybe have released him a couple of more times. He mentioned Kerkez flying up and down, but we've not really seen that much of him flying up and down. We've seen little bits. But I probably would still go Kerkez. Neil, back four for you, anything different from what you've heard?
I like why I quite like the Gomez shout is because I think I like Jones and Szoboszlai second half. And I think what's different second half to first half is first half, obviously Liverpool are chasing the game a little bit more, it's 0-0 or the 1-0 down. And that part of why the goal was 1-0 down is because Szoboszlai and Jones are both ahead of the ball. Second half, Curtis comes out and he just sits deeper on that left-hand side, constantly available for a pass. helps break things up. So I think that if you almost had, and Szoboszlai more of a dynamo, so if you've got Szoboszlai as more of a dynamo, having Gomez, so Szoboszlai pulls more to the right, Jones pulls more to the left, and so having Gomez play right back helps that a little bit. You know, you feel you've got a bit more security there as well, plus the set piece stuff as has been discussed. And then it could well be that it could actually help Kerkez if it's on the left, because Jones, if he's going to sit a bit deeper, a bit more responsible, Williams fills that zone a little bit, and then Kerkez can push up, so you're a bit asymmetrical, and that could work quite nicely. I think on Bradley, and the other thing about, I take the general point of, does he want to play all centre-halves? He can sub Gomez. You know, he can get to 60 if Gomez is playing right back and take him off and see, you know, how the game is and what it is that he wants to do. I'm a little, I suspect he will start Bradley and Kerkez. But if he does start Gomez, it's not a Christ, what's he doing moment. It's actually all right, he's got a plan for this. Yeah. And as I say, part of that plan could be to release the others. And on Kerkez and Robertson, I've got sympathy with both of them. At the minute, I actually think neither of them have been anywhere near as questionable, Robertson for a more extended period, than as people act. Okay. I think they've suffered from the whole structure of the side not being where it should be. It's worth pointing out that's the channel where McAllister tends to pull to, and the best thing about the other night, genuinely, and it sounds disrespectful about a genuine great of the game currently playing, but it was that McAllister doesn't start the game, and I think it's one of the reasons that Liverpool looked a better side and it looked markedly different. I think it's been hard to be Liverpool's left back. I think it's been hard. I think that Gakpo doesn't give you what Diaz used to give you, and he certainly doesn't give you what Mane used to give you. And I think that left-hand sided player, I think that McAllister can give you what Wijnaldum used to be able to give you, but not the one that we've had this season. So I think that whoever's been left back has just been sort of left a little bit exposed. And to be honest, I think that Virgil's brilliant, but Virgil doesn't try and do what Konate at least at times tries to do on the right-hand side when the right back's getting caught out, which is to step into those spaces. Virgil rightly plays in Virgil's bit. He doesn't come that way. He worries about you, but he doesn't come that way in the same way.